I have been struggling. I've been in the pits of a reading slump from Confederacy of Dunces by John Kennedy Toole. I hated that book. I hated the main character. I hated everything about it. And I've been struggling since. I gave up on that about 100 pages, which is not like me. So I've been looking for something to pull me out of the depths of a reading slump. And this is the one that did it. This is Stoner by John Williams. It's not what it sounds like. I have avoided this book for a very long time. I thought it was about someone who smokes weed. I thought it was like a teenage kind of, I don't know, like a group of friends who, I just assumed it was like a high school book or like a college book where they're all stoners, and I don't know, I just thought, I mean, that's why I made that assumption. And I read somewhere, or someone told me that this was a very misogynistic book, so I just kind of avoided it for a long time. I have been depriving myself because I rated this 5 stars. This is one of the best books I think I've ever read. It's definitely in my, that might be a little bit of recency bias, but it's definitely in my top books I've ever read, 100%. It's only small, it's 288, so very quick, short read, which is what I wanted to get me out of a reading slump, and it did the job. It's just such a wonderfully written book. I made some notes while I was reading it. It's just the whole, it basically spans, it follows an English teacher, which if you like reading and you like books, you will like this book. It follows a man who goes to university, does English literature, and then becomes a professor at the same university he learnt at, and it follows the span of his life from like 18 until like 60s. And I was impressed by how you can fit such a long lifespan into such a short book and not feel like it's fast paced, not feel like it's skipping chapters. It's just really wonderfully written, wonderfully paced. I enjoyed the relationships, the character development was really good. I absolutely hate the wife. Hate her. Yep, I adore the main character, and I think that's why anyone who behaved out of turn to him really pissed me off, because I just want to give him a hug. He's just like the sweetest man I think who might have ever lived. He didn't live, but been written about, you know. I felt like this book really reminded me why I love books, why I like literature, and I just loved it. There was a particular quote on page 25. Oh my god, that scared the life out of me. Jesus. There was a particular quote on page 25. I think I highlighted it. I did. And I'm doing an English literature degree and I'm 25, so a mature student. And he writes, sometimes immersed in his books, there would come to him the awareness of all that he did not know, of all that he had not read, and the serenity for which he laboured was shattered as he realised the little time he had in life to read so much, to learn what he had to know. And I felt such a deep resonance with that. I really related to it because I feel like that often. I feel like there is not enough time in the world to read all the books that I want to read, and as someone who is studying literature probably 6 years after the age that you could do a degree, yeah, it really resonated with me. There was also a passage, it was just a sentence on page 40 which I really liked. He's talking about death. I can't find the quote on the page, but I have got I don't think I summarised it, but I wrote out what he wrote on page 40, and he was speaking about death, and he described it as death is the slow, quiet attrition of time against the imperfect flesh. If that sentence doesn't make you want to read this book, I don't know what will. Yeah, 5 stars. This is just my little commonplace when I'm reading books and taking notes. 5 stars. Read the book. It's only short. It won't take you long. Love you, John Williams. I will be reading more of his work. I would like to read Butcher's Crossing, but I've heard there's a particularly violent scene with an animal, and I don't know if I can handle that, but I would like to read more of his stuff. So